Yes. Something I noticed that they're showing a Stridex commercial right here now.
Mhm.
Did you ever use Stridex when you were a kid?
I did. I sure did when I was in high school.
Yeah, me too.
You used it
Because
back then? They had it way back then?
oh yeah, yeah, they did. And what was cool about it, you would wipe your face after you wash your face. You could wipe your face with the Stridex, and dirt would still come off of it.
Wow.
It was like, wow, that is really giving you a deep clean. One thing I noticed here that I may have talked about this before, but when I was with the WWE in 1989, 1990, Vince only allowed his own photographers at ringside
Hmm.
because he thought if they want pictures, they'll get them from us. We control the pictures, nobody else. But now I look and I see Bill Apter at ringside. I see George Napoli at ringside.
Yep.
How you doing? And so I don't know when that changed, but that changed, within 10 years. Something happened. I don't know what happened.
You gotta ask Tony about that show in Champaign.
I will.
Because I mean, seriously, I bet he was there. 1997, that's gonna be one of the peak times of his fandom. And it's not like the company ran a lot of shows in Champaign. I'm actually looking in all the shoulder years. I can't see where the WWF ran there in 94, 95, 96, even 98. But they were here in 1997, and I bet our buddy Tony was there.
And I bet you can name the card top to bottom.
You know what? I'm gonna rattle it off to you because I know what he's gonna do. He's gonna rattle it off like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So the main event was The Undertaker and Bret Hart. You had DOA versus the Nation of Domination in an 8-man tag. The Headbangers would beat Savio Vega and Miguel Perez. Mankind would wrestle Hunter Hearst Helmsley in a Falls Count Anywhere match. The Patriot is in for Ahmed Johnson because he cut his hand. I'm not making that up. Against Owen Hart. Goldust versus Brian Pillman. The Road Dogg, back then he was called Jesse James, against Rockabilly, who you know was Billy Gunn. And then the Godwins versus the New Blackjacks. But I bet for sure he remembers Mankind and Hunter in a Falls Count Anywhere, and then the main event of Bret and the Undertaker. You just saw a young Gerald Briscoe running around there getting involved. Little promo from Owen Hart. And you can probably guess what's going to happen here.
Can I ask something before we get into what happens?
Well, you're going to see it happen, but I'm ready.
Okay. When did Goldust change his look?
There it is. The attack from Stone Cold. And look at the fans, dude. They're going wild. He's not supposed to be here. He's supposed to be banned from ringside. All these cops are here to protect Owen Hart. I think that's Dan McDevitt on the right there. And
okay.
Look, here's Vince. This is a major segment here. Vince is jumping up from his position at the announce desk, and he's going to give a speech about how everyone cares about you, Steve. We just don't want to see you wind up in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. We all just have your best interest in mind. So he's trying to talk some sense into him. He's none too happy about being stripped of the Intercontinental title. You see Vince thinking he can let cooler heads prevail, saying, okay, guys, y'all can leave. We're just going to talk. Just going to have a conversation here. It's important to mention here, just to give you some context, Tony, because I know you weren't watching at the time.
Right.
Austin is frustrated because he can't wrestle. Austin is frustrated because they want to take his Intercontinental Championship from him, a title he worked very hard to get. And as a result, he's been running down and just stone cold stunning people like Owen Hart, which is why Owen had protection with him. But it's not just Owen Hart. He did it to Jim Ross, his buddy.
Mm-hmm.
He did it to Sergeant Slaughter. And you're about to see Stone Cold Steve Austin stun Vince McMahon for the very first time right here at Madison Square Garden. And the fans are standing because they're kind of ready for it.
I like the look of Austin's face is freaking authentic, isn't it?
Yes. He's believable.
Yes, he is.
He's credible. And I think a lot of people think his success was about middle fingers and a storyline with the Authority and drinking beer. And don't get me wrong, All of that mattered. But anybody in the scheme of things could come out and do those things, and it wouldn't have hit as hard as when Stone Cold did it, because he did it with conviction. You felt like you could suspend your disbelief. This is real. He's
Right.
really frustrated. He's really annoyed. He's really pissed off. There's credibility. He looks so young there too, doesn't he?
Wow. You know, it's kind of a lesson for all wrestlers.
It really is.
Yeah.
The intensity is what made Stone Cold Steve Austin so special. Look at him with his arms folded.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little thing, but how often did you see Stone Cold with his arms folded like that in the ring?
Yeah. Right.
I'll never forget. I know we're not going to track the audio, but he says something like, "I appreciate the fact," and he's talking about how Vince is trying to look out for him and his best interest and all this. And he says something like he feels like Cool Hand Luke. And then here comes the big stunner, which, by the way, I'd love to see you take a stunner one day. You think we could work that out?
I doubt it. You know, I've got a bad neck.
Let
You
me
do
go.
understand that. Okay.
I'm gonna text Tony right fast.
Okay.
Hey, man. Hope you're doing well.
Okay.
Conrad here.
Hey, boss.
Was wondering,
I'm doing a podcast with Conrad.
would it be possible?
He's drunk.
I'm not drunk.
Don't listen to his fat ass.
It's 9:09 in the morning. For you to have.
And he always talks bad about you.
When?
You just go ahead and go ahead, lead.
Tony.
I wouldn't believe anything he'd say this morning.
Stunner.
His wife has kicked him out of the house.
That's not true.
You do yours and I'll do mine.
Arthur Ashe.
Okay. I would never let him into one of our shows again.
People, what? Why are you doing this?
No, you do you. I'll do me. Okay.
People would love it.
Mm-hmm.
Tony is beloved.
Okay.
Maybe even. Oh, there it is. There's the stunner.
Boom.
Take a look at the cell. This is what I want you to do when you take one. When Ricochet gives that to you tonight on Dynamite, right before he picks you up and drags your carcass over to the mimosa vat.
A lot of the fans are stunned.
And now they're arresting Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And he's just running his mouth.
What a visual, too, as they are going to carry him up the ramp. This visual is going to be used in posters and T-shirts. And dude, I am positive that's Dan McDevitt. I can't believe that we've been friends with Dan this long, and we had no idea that he was one of the cops that arrested Austin. By the way, our buddy Dan runs Maryland Championship Wrestling. Shout out to Dan and the rest of the crew at MCW. If you're in the Maryland area and you haven't seen MCW, what are you waiting for? They gave so many of the talented folks that you've grown up watching on television their start, whether it was old school names like Lita, Hall of Famers, or more modern names like Leo Rush, who you see running around AEW these days. That's Dan McDevitt on the left, who wrestled for ECW and a bunch of independents and now has MCW. He's one of us, man. And by the way, a heck of a realtor. So if you're looking to buy a house in that area, he can hook you up with that too. But that's 100% a young Dan. How about that?
Yeah.